What is going on YouTube? My name is Rob and today we're going to be installing the AEM oil pressure gauge on my 22 GR86. Now what's neat about the GR86 from the factory, it already tells you the temps, and as you're tracking the car, we know the oil temps go higher and higher. I've already added an oil cooler, which helps keep those temps at bay, but we still don't know the pressure, the oil pressure. As tire technology advances and they get stickier, and as we keep pulling more G's, the oil's kind of going all over the place in the pan, and sometimes that will starve the pickup. So that's why I'm installing this gauge. To do the install, we're gonna need the actual gauge, the AEM gauge, which comes with the sensor. You wanna get the sensor that goes up to 150 PSI, because at cold starts, these cars, they go above 100. We also have a 3D printed gauge holder from Import Image Racing, so we're gonna be, installing that. So the next thing you want to find out is where you're going to actually mount the sensor. Now I have a aftermarket oil cooler on here, it's the color fittings, but there's no way I'm going to fit a sensor in between here and the air box. But Subaru, if you can see it, there's that plug, the oil galley plug, right where my finger's pointed. We're going to loosen that up and install the torque solution, the oil plug. Right, so we're going to screw this into the top of the block, and then our sensor will screw into here. You're going to need a fuse tap. You're going to plug that in. I believe this is a mini. This is just a 5 amp fuse that's going to power the gauge. We're going to plug this in under there and plug in the fuse that it's replacing with, and then adding the new fuse here to power up the gauge. Okay, first things first. We need to get in here, we need to pull off this panel and then pull off where I'm going to mount the gauge, which is right here. Should just pop straight out. There we go. So next thing we're going to want to do, we're going to take the harness that comes with the actual gauge, and we're going to try to snake it up through here. You have a fuse panel. This is where we're going to pull power. So we're going to kind of run it up through here and out of that vent. So now that you have your wire ran, we're going to take the pod. And on the bottom of it, it's got 3 small screws and a wishbone style kind of clamp, I guess, once you screw these together. We're gonna keep it just like this and put one side in first, and then kind of just almost kind of force it and like rotate it around till it snaps in. What I found to work best was to push this in first and then rotate it around, and then I used a flathead screwdriver to kind of push the bottom of that wishbone down, and it just snapped in place. And it's in there. I haven't even tightened these up yet, and it's pretty snug. So that's where I'm pulling the wire from. Right, it's your main harness. It's gonna follow your hood latch. Pull that through. I'm gonna go into the manifold. Factory plug we took out, and then the new one we're gonna put in. It already has some Teflon tape and a crush washer. Here's your sensor. I'm gonna do the same thing. 17mm socket, and we're gonna put the plug back in. Next, you wanna take a 15/16, a deep well, so you have enough room to screw the sensor in. Always start it by hand. And that's how it should look. I just use the radio, which is at 7.5 amp on the very top. And then actually you can ground it kind of right there where I'm shining the light. And if I did everything right, the gauge should light up. And there we go. So my final thoughts on the gauge, the pod, and the install. I would recommend 10 out of 10. The pod's placed in a good spot to where you can see it and still focus on, whatever you need to do on track. The install, the fact that you can just push that grommet out in the firewall and the fuse panel's right there. You can run all your wires, tuck it in there nice. It was super simple. I would say maybe an hour and a half to do it. And that's it. So thank you Import Image Racing for making that 3D printed version gauge holder. And that's it. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.